The brutal truth, your photography is both brilliant and utter rubbish. And most of that is just down to opinions. And opinions are like arseholes. Everybody's got one. And what you have to do is figure out a way of understanding that when you look at your work, depending on what mood you're in, day of the week it is, what somebody said to you, what you were trying to do, you're always going to have a slightly different feeling about your work. And people are the same. People can look at your work and love it one day, look at it again a few weeks later and think, meh, not what I saw in it. Don't take it personally. It's all about opinion. Today, I'm going to run you through some of my work. I'm going to look back at my work over the years and tell you how I felt about it then, how I feel about it now, and why. And you'll see there's a love-hate relationship going on there, which is kind of healthy because it means you're actually not resting on your laurels. You're thinking about your photographs. Let's get into it. Hello, welcome back to episode 29 million of the Lance Burkitt Encounter. Today we're going to talk all about your work and why your work is both a great combination of brilliance and utter dog shit. And I say that because having been through all the range of emotions in my work over the last 20 years, I'm here to tell you that you'll have good days and bad. And when you're having a bad day, it doesn't necessarily mean that your work's rubbish. Also, when you're having a brilliant day and you love your work, doesn't also necessarily mean that other people will think your work's great. So opinions are like arseholes, you know. Everybody's got one. And everybody's influences and everybody's feelings come from different places. So if somebody's looking at your work and telling you that really, you know, you shouldn't give up your day job, after you've took a minute to consider that and then told them to fuck off, look at your work and think about what it means to you. Think about what the work means to you. How did you get that piece of work? Where were you at in your life that made you decide, right, today I'm going to photograph that and I'm going to make it look like this? Was it the edit that did it? Was it just the approach? What was it that made you like that piece of work? I'm going to run through a bunch of my pictures from over the last 20 years and I'll talk you through my love-hate relationship with my own work. But I think quite often as photographers we get hung up on what other people think of us. And photography, like all art forms, is a subjective thing. I mean, it could be that I look on a website of some photographer one day and I really like their work. I might go back a couple of months later, have a look, see what they've been up to. And I might look at it and think, today I'm not so sure. And people are looking at your work and thinking that because moods, time of day, time of month, time of year, is the full moon out, can make a big difference. All those things that kind of sway people's opinions. So it might be that somebody's looked at your work this week and thought, well, I don't rate them. But it might be they come back in 6 months' time and go, actually, I really do rate them now. And what I've found over time is trusting your own instinct and trusting your own opinion on your own work when you're in the best mood to look at it is the best way of judging what you're doing. And I'll talk you through some of my stuff over the last couple of decades because I have a massive love-hate relationship with my work. There is some of it I'm kind of always proud of and always think is my best work. And there's other things where I think, don't know what I was thinking there. But then I'll come back a few months later or a year later or a couple of years later and think, Christ, I nailed that. So it's not always about what you think on your gut instinct, which it, actually 9 times out of 10, to be fair, the gut instinct is right. But sometimes when you're looking at work and you're not sure, it's probably because of the mood you're in, or the mood somebody's put you in, or the consideration you're giving to it at that point. It's not always right, and hopefully we'll see as we look through some of my work, some of that feeling, because I love all my work. I must do because I show it. I have stuff on my website from 2006-7 still, because I think it's great work. But I do go through kind of, I don't know what the phrase is, I go through periods of time when I think, I'm not quite sure about that. I'm not quite sure why I did that, or I've done better work since. And it is just down to the mood you're in at the day, because as I've said in my podcast over the last year, from a couple of years into my career, from probably 2008 onwards, I know I was creating technically good work that was like, exposed well, in focus, that kind of thing. But sometimes you might look back at work or look at it immediately and think, oh God, what have I done? What was that? So firstly, try not to be too harsh on yourself. But secondly, remind yourself when you're critiquing your work or somebody else is critiquing your work that quite often it's all down to mood, time, place, mood, energy. And just because they didn't like your work that day doesn't mean they're going to not like it the next day. And like's not even, in fact, like probably is the right word. For me, when I'm looking at a picture of my own work, when I'm looking at it, I want to look at it. It gives me that feeling of fucking hell, I did that. That was me. I did that. And some days you'll get that, and then you might get that looking at a piece of work for a long time, and then suddenly it might just wear off on you a little bit. And by wear off, I mean you might just suddenly not think it's that wow anymore. And that might be because you've made new work, you've changed your style, you're just in a bad mood, like I've said. But does it mean that that piece of work's no longer valid, no longer good enough, no longer exciting? And most of the time, it isn't. It's just your own insecurities kicking in or your own bad mood that day. This picture of Joanne that I've got on screen now, this came from a little test shoot I did with her. I was doing a test shoot with a makeup artist whose name escaped me. I'm really sorry, makeup artist. And it was the first time I worked with a makeup artist who did what you might call airbrushing. So instead of putting the makeup on however they do it with a bit of a brush and that, she was spraying it. So it was a little bit of a learning curve for me in terms of how it was applied, how to light it, how it looked, how long it took. That kind of played into it. And Joanne was a relatively new model, so relatively inexperienced, and didn't have your traditional catwalk stroke tall model kind of look. She was just quirky looking, I thought. So we did a set of pictures, and once the makeup and hair were done, and we were doing kind of bikini stuff, but it was more like, wasn't sexy bikini, it was like fun, playful bikini, as you can see from the shot. And I decided that more often than not on these kind of shots, I just want one big key light lighting the model up. And depending on where you place it, high, low, depends where the shadows go. So the shadows are kind of high and low on this. If you're looking at the picture left to right, coming down across the model's body, and it gives us a lovely definition on her cheeks and her chin, which is kind of what I was after. But I was kind of not getting much at the hair, looked a bit flat, so I backlit it with a hair light just off to the side, so it was like hitting the back of her head to like bring her head off the backdrop. For years I kind of loved this picture. It was one of those pictures that was in my portfolio. In fact, probably if you look on their website now, burkittphoto.com, you'll probably see it on there. If not, maybe I'll put it back on there, but I'm pretty sure it's on there. And this set I did with Joanne was quite funky. We didn't do millions of pictures. I probably only took maybe 100 pictures, 150 pictures across the whole day. But it was fun, and I just liked the energy. I liked the energy she gave. It was quite playful, and because she wasn't a model, she wasn't doing the usual striking the model-y poses. You know that? Remember that god-awful one that they went through in the mid-2000s as well, doing the hands on the hips, and they all did that same... Oh, honestly, the amount of times I had to wait for a model to do it, pretend the camera had not fired, and then she'd move and do something else, so I didn't have to use that shot. I just hated it. Anyway, Joanne didn't do that because she was inexperienced, but the kind of girl next door, quirky, liked to be a model, not quite there yet, allowed us to be a bit more loose with our interpretation. So I love this set, and if I look through the whole set, particularly the blue bikini ones, where Joanne's kind of just hanging out, just being a model, sitting on an IKEA desk, just being quite playful with it, and me working with the spray makeup, which was bizarre but good, kind of made for a nice playful set. And I liked these pictures for a long time, and that one I've just shown you, and plus one here, which I rotated to make her look like she was leaning on a wall, which is not, which I thought was kind of fun as well. They were kind of like a nice set, a nice I don't know, introduction, if you like, for Joanne the model and for me to the makeup artist, and to give me a little bit of something different in my portfolio that wasn't like just massively commercial. You can see from this one here, we did a little stark, almost like a Richardson style shot. You know, that it's not quite a what they call them, bloody ring light. It's not quite a ring flash shot, but I was kind of mimicking that. And this is one of those shots that some days I think, oh, actually she looks a bit model there. She looks like she could be high fashion. And other days I just think it's a lot of shit. and probably to this day you won't find that on my website, but I have used it at times, and even looking at it now, I quite like it because it feels a bit 90s high fashion magazine. It's even got a bit of grain in it. If you look at it closely, you can see bits of grain where I've underexposed, because I do tend to underexpose my shots on purpose. So there's bits about it I like, but bits I don't like. I'm not quite sure why that is, but again, today I'm not offended by it. It's a decent shot, and I could see it probably on a magazine stand in the 90s, but that first set I showed you of Joanne is much more, perhaps more where my career went in terms of style. So maybe that's why I like it more, but I've had a bit of a love-hate relationship with that set for years, so it's gone into the website, not been on there, gone on, not, and that's just a personal feeling at the time. When I first did them 2008, I would say it's probably some of my best work, some of my most accomplished work. And I guess some have fallen out of love with it occasionally, moving on and doing different things. But if I go back to it now, 17 years later, I can see why I shot it, I can see why I liked it, and actually that shot there stands up, I think. And given that it was supposed to be a real high retouched kind of look, if you look around the face, you can see the heavy makeup and you can see the sharp retouch. That's what we were going for. So I don't even mind that. I mean, I probably do dial it back about 20% now, but that's what we were doing on the day. And Joanne was great for a non-model. I don't know if it was the first photo shoot she'd done, but it was certainly early. And we had a great day just hanging out at my old studio in Mosley near Manchester, using the shitty location that it was in, and just being playful. And again, that's quite a nice shot. I'm not offended by that shot. I'm not sure if it's on the website, but I think that's probably more to do with I'm not over keen on the location rather than the model, the set, the lighting and stuff. But again, some days I really love that shot. Some days, today I don't mind it. Today it's all right. I'm not going to go and put it on my portfolio, but I like it enough to show you, to show the world that it's a shot that I did 17 years ago that I quite like still today. But you can see how, just looking at them now, how I feel about them. You should be feeling that about your shots, whether you shot them yesterday, last month, last year, 10 years ago, or whether you shoot stuff in 10 years and you're coming back to have a look at it. You should still be, I don't know if proud's the right word, be happy that you did it, be content that you did it, and whatever it is, but your style might have changed, your approach might have changed, your feelings might have changed. You might have had a big tragedy or a big thing that's happened that's been brilliant in your life that's changed how you feel towards your pictures. Whatever it is, just remember where you were when you did that shot and how you felt, and you'll soon either remember to love or hate. I'm not saying you'll put it in your portfolio, but it's certainly, for me, that like, how do I phrase it, undercomplicate how you look at your shots from the past. Don't look at them with the same experience that you've got today. Look at them in the context that you did them in, and enjoy them in the context that you did them in. Does that make sense? Because if you try to enjoy something in the context of now, you're more than likely to not like it, because technically you've moved on, aesthetically you've moved on. You're not the same person as well. So there's a lot of kind of thought you've got to put into retrospectively judging your own work. This set I did here with the fabulous Rachel. I've worked with Rachel numerous times over the years, and Rachel is a model. She's a model, singer, dancer, and actor. Still doing it now. I haven't seen her in the flesh for a long time, but she was one of the most versatile models I ever had the pleasure to work with. And she was also a bit nuts. So you would say, bring something for fashion, and she'd bring wellies and a polka dot skirt, and you'd think, it's great. And then because it just looked like another standard fashion shot on a grey background, we decided, oh fuck it, we'll go for blue. Say it works on blue. Stark contrast: cream and black dots, white and black dots, black hair, dark makeup on a blue background, and I fucking love that shot. I loved it when I did it in 2008, and I love it when I look at it now. And again, you'll find that on my burkittphoto.com website today, because I'm still very proud of that set, because it was kind of me coming out of the glamour days and into fashion and figuring out how to get good lighting, good connection, all the stuff that you need in a fashion shot. And Rachel was one of the models at the time that really helped me work towards getting to that space. And she was, again, we did a bit of playful stuff with the 60s look. Let me get the right picture up here. Yeah, we did some kind of like almost like voyeuristic 60s stuff. So this is kind of like real low spotlight. You can see one big light coming at her, causing lots of shadows to show her shape. And as you can see, Rachel's got a great figure and a great look. She kind of pulled off that, I don't know, where was it, Sophia Loren, that kind of 60s chic kind of Hollywood beauty kind of look off brilliantly, because she knew her. Well, she's an actress as well, which I guess helps, doesn't it, in terms of emotion and shape. But she knew well how to do the shape. And again, I purposely underexposed these to go for that 60s look because I know how to make them black and white, and that's what you get in the end. And this is like 17 years ago, and I've learned a hell of a lot about photography since then. So when I look back at this, I'm kind of like super excited still. I still think this is a brilliant piece of work. I don't think this is rubbish. I actually think this is a brilliant piece of work, because I mean, a lot of it is down to Rachel and her abilities as a model, the outfit, the look, the pose. And I'm going to say I either shot this on a Canon 10D or a Canon 40D. I can't remember off the top of my head which one it were, but we'll find out now, won't we? It was Canon 10D. So around this time I was figuring out how to get the best out of low-end kit. I mean, the Canon 10D then had been surpassed by the 20D, the 40D, I mean the 1DS, the 5D, all those other big ones which I couldn't afford then. And I'm pretty sure I will have been shooting with standard kit lenses as well. So making the most of what I've got and using tips and tricks I learned from Guy Gowan in terms of sharpening pictures to make them look like they weren't shot on an entry-level camera. I'm quite pleased with that, and I wouldn't do that much different with it today, if I'm perfectly honest with you, because my approach, although I've got more expensive equipment now, better quality lenses, all that stuff, my approach is pretty much the same. Simple is best. What are we trying to do and why? How do we get there? Workflow, retouch, same processors to get the same style, stroke, quality of pictures I always do. So nothing's changed in that respect, but shot on a Canon 10D with probably, I don't know, a 28-105 kit lens. And by kit lens, I mean cheap, the cheap plastic lenses Canon used to do. I've probably got one kicking around somewhere. And what I'm going to do in an episode soon is I'm going to dig out, not the 10D, but I've still got a 40D, which is 2008-9, is it, a 40D? And a kit lens. And I'm going to go and shoot some stuff to do comparison between that and shooting on a high-end camera with L-series lenses, and do a podcast on the difference and how you can get the 40D with a kit lens, to give you pretty much what the high-end kit does if you know what you're doing. So I want to do that one. So it might be the next one, it might be the one after, but pretty soon I'm going to do a podcast specifically for people who can't afford expensive kit to help them understand how through approach and process you can get real good quality pictures like this one on screen here of the fabulous Rachel. So again, we're talking 17 years ago, working with the kit I've got, but working with more than anything, it's approach and process, and the retouch side of that is a massive piece of making sure things are sharp and not overexposed and colour balanced right and all that kind of stuff. But that set is one that I loved then and I love now. Try and find something. Again, I used to do all sorts of stuff back in the day, not so much now. I mean, I did this set with Amy where we used the car, but we did some other stuff. And this was another relatively inexperienced model. And I felt on the day I wasn't keen on the makeup that we used on the day. Makeup artist was great, Paul, but I wasn't keen on the kind of stuff we did. This is not retouch, this is straight off the camera. And I look at it now and I can see what I was doing. Yeah, she's got a great figure, she's got a nice look. I'm not quite sure about the heavy makeup or the hair, and for me, when I compare it to the rest of my shots, this is not Amy the model's fault, this is my fault. I think it's a bit rubbish. But I do remember at the time quite liking this set and using them for a bit. So at that point in that time, I was quite happy with this set and how it came out, how it worked out. And I can see why I was happy with it then, considering my experience, skill and all that stuff then. Yeah, so in the high res we can see nice retouch, going for high fashion again, going for that airbrush kind of look. I like it more, I think, the edit than the raw file, but I still think there's probably 20% I would have done differently now. I mean, Amy looks great, don't get me wrong, but it's not really there, is it? It's a little off. So for me, at one point, 15, 16 years ago, that picture was brilliant for me. Now, I think it's probably crap, so it wouldn't go near my portfolio now. There's a couple in the set that are better, I think, like that. It's slightly better, but again, it's something not quite on it for me. So again, looking back now, all this years later, it's not rubbish, it's just not brilliant, but it wouldn't make the portfolio now. And hopefully I've just explained to you through that why that might be. This set here, again, this is another model, Becky, that I worked with a long time. She doesn't model anymore, she's got a family and all that now, which is great. But at this point we're working together a lot, and just doing something other than just to be a bit quirky rather than just doing the beautiful glamour stroke fashion stuff. We went a bit edgy and we did this set which turned into that kind of, which I love to this day, and that I think it should be in my portfolio. Hopefully it is. But again, I loved it then and I love it now, and I love it because it's a little edgy. It's just, you got a good looking girl just being a bit different, a bit grungy, a bit edgy, a bit dark, a bit something other than just look how beautiful I am, which is exactly what we wanted to do. And this was me kind of in my experimental figuring out who I was a photographer stage, and becoming quite proficient at repeating what I was doing and doing it well. And so I was lucky to have people like Becky on hand who would come and work with me at a drop of a hat to try and get my portfolio where I wanted it to be. But again, I thought these were a brilliant set then, and I look at them now 16, 17 years later and I still think they're a brilliant set. And hopefully you can see why, because they're dark, they're edgy, they're a little bit different, they're not quite Girl Next Door, they're a little bit like, I call them grungy if anything, even if that's even a phrase, I don't know. But again, we did some kind of mild glamour as well at the time, and some location fashion, which it was great for the time, but looking back at these shots, I wouldn't do this kind of stuff now. They're a little bit too obvious for me, a little bit too, I mean, Becky's great, don't get me wrong, but I don't think I got this set right at all. At the time I loved them, at the time I thought these are great, these are wicked. But then quickly over the years I thought I'd missed an opportunity there. But around the same time we did the studio stuff, and I'm not going to show the glamour stuff because it's too boring. But me trying to become a fashion photographer at this point was kind of exciting, crazy. And like I said, being fortunate enough to have great models like Becky on hand was kind of, for me, I don't know what the phrase is, a godsend. I worked hard for it, don't get me wrong, but it does make a big difference when you've got real good faces and people who are engaged in what you're trying to achieve with you, and not fighting, not wanting things which are just not really doable. And again, working with male models is not something that, when I compare to the amount of female models I've worked with and photographed, male models is a lot less, but I still photographed a lot of them. And Lawrence Jakes, you can see why Lawrence was popular in the mid-late 2000s. And we worked together a handful of times over the years, me and Lawrence, and always got great pictures, and you can see from that set there. I'm not sure if this is in my portfolio now. It ought to be. But I can look back on this all these years later and thought, yeah, nailed that. Nice big main light, a little bit of a rim light to bring his shoulder shape out, take him off the background. Again, me quirky shooting on red because it's different. It's a probably stereotypical Calvin Klein style shoot, isn't it? But at the same time, I think we're nailing it. We're nailing the look. Again, probably using a 40D and an edit process to make sure the picture's sharp, in focus, and weighted nicely, all that kind of stuff. So, another set that I love from 15, 16 years ago. Let's see what year that was. Let's get a hover. 2009. So yeah, 16 years ago. And a whole set of those. And we did some kind of semi-formal, semi-businessman kind of look as well. But you can see Lawrence, great model. We did some great work together over a short period of time, and really enjoyed working with him. And like me, he's a biker. He's a bit of a petrol head, so we got on well. So yeah, so I kind of like that set. So another set that's like 16 years old, which I'm still quite proud of and still think is brilliant work, not rubbish. And it's one of those sets of pictures that I've never looked back on and thought, what was I doing there? It's one of my more consistent pieces of work, I think. So I'll fast forward a little bit because they're like 2010s. Let's have a look what I was doing in the mid 2010s, so 2014. Let's look for something that's not perhaps... around this time I started my own magazine called Ascendance Magazine, did loads of work for that. Got to work with loads of great people, and if you look online, ascendancemagazine.com, it's still there, published, and every now and again I've chucked some on. Did a work with a few models a few years ago and stuck it on there as a piece. It's not something I have time to do that much of now, but I still like to do it when I can. Just trying to go through. This is one of those times where I had a hard drive error and lost a lot of work, and these are kind of come from the recovery files, so they're all a bit higgledy-piggledy, a bit jiggly-jiggly. But the fabulous Katie Isles. So this is outside a studio I used to have near Rotherham United's old football ground, Millmore. Just around the corner we had a studio. And luckily it had a great pub on the corner, which was a bit run down, a bit tatty, but it made for great pictures. So when we were shooting for Katie for Ascendance Magazine, so Katie came up to shoot for the magazine, and we worked around this pub. We did some local studio stuff as well, but these are my favourite sets. And this whole set of Katie crossing the street, being a bit chic, being a bit Parisian, we were kind of looking for, worked beautifully well. And I still love these pictures today. And I've never had a hate relationship with any of this set. And hopefully you can see, if I just spin through a few of them, that you can see why I kind of enjoyed working with her on this. They were all very cosmopolitan. Even we discovered a burnt out car at the end of the street, so she went and plonked herself on it. And they were a great set then and a great set now, and I'm still quite proud of them. Katie's a great model stroke, actress stroke performer. She does a lot of adverts and stuff, I see her in. And she was really nice to work with and really pleasant to work with. And it's one of those sets where I wish, looking back now, I'd shot more. I wish I'd done more of that set whilst I had Katie with me, but unfortunately that it was one of those days. I think she'd been a bit ill before I'd been ill. The makeup artist that day wasn't great. It was not very you can see the thumbnails in there. There's only one set I was really happy with. The other stuff that we did around, I'm pains to show you because it's that bad. Me, not the model. But that set I'm still very happy with. The other sets we shot on the day I never liked and never used, because they were just 30% below par for the stuff I was doing there. But to be fair, I think there'd been a big bug around the whole country, the gut-wrenching bug, and we'd all been a bit ill, so I think that's kind of what did it. I think we were lucky to get anything out of that set at all. So I've always used that set, but none of the others, and I wouldn't use any of the others. And again, some of these pictures here that I did for Ascendance Magazine, this is the fabulous Hannah. This set I've had a real love-hate relationship with over the years. When I first shot this set, if you look on Ascendance Magazine, you'll see the set on there. We did a few pieces around various different looks, and we had a great, fabulous writer wrote us some copy for them for the looks. And I struggled with these from day one, not because of Hannah. Hannah's fab. I've worked with Hannah 3 or 4 times. We've always done good work, but this kind of whole set with Hannah and Annette as well, I look back at them now and I think, I can see why we did them. I can see why I like them. I can see why, even today, actually, I quite like that one. I'm looking at it, and again, it comes down to feeling, doesn't it? I think the models are great, the outfits are great, the lighting's alright. I'm just probably a bit too white, maybe a bit more grey background would have been better. I'm not like depressed by them, I'm not embarrassed by them. I just think, and I've thought this when I've looked at them over the years, I've just thought, could have done better there. Could have got something more out of that set than what I got, and that's my fault, not theirs. But then I have had other days where I've been flicking through my phone looking at these and going, oh God, that was a great set. I see why I liked it. Today I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite sure what it is. It's just 10% off being what I think I would go wow. And it's not the models, it's my lighting, it's my approach, it's my where I'm stood to take the picture I took, my direction, I guess is what I'm saying. So you can still have that conflicting feeling about work, even 10 years on. These must be 11 years now, is it? Again, even that, now I quite like it. I might have cropped it a little tighter, actually. I'm not sure about the yellow lips, but I get it. But I don't mind it as a picture, and the lighting's not bad. But it's not on my website, and it wouldn't go on the website. It might be on Ascendance Magazine as part of the set, but me personally, it wouldn't go in my book. Nothing to do with the models, more to do with me. Conversely, I work with Tyrese Thomas, this gentleman here, for Ascendance Mag, the same, and a company called Lilo and Stitch. Weren't called that, it was called Rico Stitch. Fucking Lilo Stitch. And he brought outfits from them. We did a couple of sets of them, and I quite like, even today I quite like these. Tyrese was another non-model, a model type. I think he's an IT guru or something, really. But, you know, a company that wanted some work. And we did some great work, myself and Tyrese. I'm still quite proud of these shots, particularly the kind of like portraited stuff we did. And again, I've never come back to this particular set of pictures and thought, oh, fuck me, why did I shoot that? I've always thought these were great, and they've always been in my portfolio. Most of them were, but there were some stuff on the day we did that I wasn't so keen on, like this. I don't know. We were going for that kind of semi-dishevelled businessman out on his lunch, just got caught kind of look. And I've never gone, oh, in the book these. I've always felt, not quite got them right. That's kind of something you might see on what they call them, ASOS, whatever they call it, arseholes. Told you everybody's got an arsehole. That kind of look, which is not really me. ASOS went through a phase of saying to people, take your own pictures, send them in, we'll use anything. I can't remember. Maybe we were going for that kind of look, but I never liked them, and so these never saw the light of day. I mean, obviously I would have cropped the jumbo sign out of that if I've ever used it, but I just don't think we got that cricket look. Nah, just for me, they're just a bit shit, aren't they? But the other stuff we did, quite like and loved. I still like this today, the Rico Stitch stuff he wore, using the location again near the old Rotherham United football ground, Millmore, and using what was available for that look, which I quite liked. A lot of scrap and shit kicking about. I still like this set to this day. Quite proud of these today. In fact, looking at that now, I quite like that. I hope that's in my portfolio. It better be on my website. I'll double check later. Some were a bit hit and miss like these, but generally speaking, the vast majority of this set I liked and used. These I quite liked, even though the background was blown out and thrown out. I liked his look on these. Simple fashion, I guess we'd call it. But and there's one here which stood in the doorway. This one here, which I always liked. Wish I'd scented him a little more if I'm going to be picky. But 10 years on, I can still see what I was trying to do and trying to achieve, and being honest about it now. Some of that set were utter dog shit, some of it were brilliant. So again, 10 years ago, I can look back on stuff and go, what were you thinking? Or actually, you nailed it then. You did nail it. And if we go at 2020, again, this is during those years of insanity when the government overreached their powers, shall we say. Worked with Holly. I was also a makeup artist around Sheffield, and shot these on a 5D Mark III with an L series lens, and we just did a load of crazy kind of stuff, crazy outfits, crazy makeup, big red lips around the viaducts around Sheffield. And I've had a real love-hate relationship with this set. Today I love it. Looking at that today, I can see exactly what I was trying to do and why. And these have come in and out of my portfolio over the years, but today I kind of quite like it. It's almost got a retro 50s vibe to it, I don't know, somehow. But that's a great fucking shot there, so I don't know why I've had a love-hate relationship with this set. I think it's another one of those sets where I think I wish I'd done more, wish I'd pushed more out of Holly and the look. I think there's some great shots in there, but I think there could have been more if I'd just pushed a bit more. And I think I'd probably get a bit frustrated when I look back at this set, because I think I could have done more, could have got more out of it, more into it. But when all's said and done, it's a pretty good set of pictures, that, isn't it? You know, we never met before. We met in the morning. At that time, Holly owned a makeover studio. That was her baby. She did the makeup there. We jumped in the car, legged it around town for an hour, come back. That was it. That was the shoot done. And I kind of quite like these now. I like them more today than I think I've ever liked them. Not sure if they're on my website. I hope they are now today. I might go and put them on if they're not. But I always do black and whites and colour because you never just know. But I think the colours work quite well. I mean, this was probably like October, November time, so it was like midday sun, you know, quite sometimes that time of year you get that like golden sun coming through. So it was nice, but this particular set I've loved more than I've hated. Some of the others in the set hated all along. An example would be, let me come out of that one and go to the first set we did as we came out was, they were just pants. I didn't like the outfit. I didn't like the look. I could see what Holly wanted to do, but it just didn't work for me. So I edited a few because she liked it, but they never saw it light of day in my book. And I think hopefully you can tell why they never saw it light of day. This comes down to the selection thing I said on a few podcast back about selection is everything. I want to show the work that you would think is the best, or gives you that buzz, a relentless buzz. So they never see my portfolio. I gave them to Holly. I don't know if she used them. There's this set as well we did, overlooking Sheffield, with that same outfit from before. I didn't like any of these either. I like the concept. I just don't think it worked as well as the viaduct and the train stuff. So I never used any of that. These I didn't mind at all. There were a couple of these I quite liked. The playful jumpsuit. Some of these worked quite well. And these have been in my portfolio. And again, some of them are better than others. Down to me, not the model. Holly was great. Can't falter at all. But even just 4 or 5 years ago, I can see what I was trying to do, what I was thinking, what I was hoping for. I always liked this one, but I kind of tended to crop this and centralise it more. Did a few voyeuristic things through the trees just to finish off. And again, a bit of love-hate with those. Some of those work really well, depending on context. Others not so well. But again, Holly's great, isn't she? It's just me and my approach, and what I was trying to get from it worked, didn't work. And that was from 2020. I did some of the year before in Liverpool, didn't I? What was that? I did some with a lady called Megan in Sheffield, and again, this was a bit hit and miss. So this was a set we did for the company, whose name escapes me. We did some lifestyle kind of stuff. There you go, Pierre, whatever it is, cafe, restaurant on Abbeydale Road, Sheffield. And Meg was great, and Sam, who did the makeup, I've worked with Sam loads of times over the years. Nice little set of pictures, woman out waiting for mates, having a meal kind of thing. Did a little bit of fashion while we're there. And I quite like this setting. But again, I've gone through a love-hate relationship with it. I did them, shot edited them, company loved them, so they went on my website. Then I took them off, then they went back on, then I took them off. And today I quite like them. Today they're quite natural looking, because there were no flash. It was all interior lights, outside lights, and that kind of spiel. And today I quite like them. But I'd also taken my motorbike, because I ride a Yamaha MT-07, in case you didn't know. Took the bike with me to kind of use as a prop, because we had these ideas, but it pissed it down. It absolutely hammered it down. So we got a couple of test shots. You can see the bikes went through, and we just gave up on it because it was never going to work. But what we did instead, we found this little alleyway, and we got Meg to pose in the alleyway. And I kind of quite like these. I've always kind of quite liked these. They're kind of fresh, young, funky. She got a great figure, great look. Outfit looks great. It suits her. Minimal makeup, great hair, and I liked that whole. I've always liked that whole look, particularly the one which is kind of semi-laughing there. It's very natural, very kind of like happy, natural look. So I kind of always like that. But I've had the love-hate relationship with the others. And again, by love-hate, I mean some days I think, oh God, that's fucking rubbish. Why am I using that? Then other days I think, actually, yeah, I like that. So it's not unnatural for everybody or anybody to like, love, hate, or being different about their work. I think it's a natural cycle for creatives to absolutely love the work one day and hate it the next. And I speak to loads of photographers who feel the same way. And often they don't even know why they don't like it anymore, or they don't know why they do suddenly like it. And for me, a lot of it is just down to mentality. It's what headspace you're in at that time. How you're feeling at that time defines how you feel about the work you're doing. And quite often it's out of your control, isn't it? Could be that the sun doesn't come out, you're pissed off, you see a picture, you think, oh, a lot of shit, fuck that. I'm going to post it on Instagram, but just what's point, it's shit. A few weeks later, sun's out, you're in a good mood, you look at it, you go, oh, fuck it, posting it. And that's how it can feel a lot of the time, photography, particularly whether you're photographing people, places, things. If I look at some of my places stuff, what year were we talking? If I look on my 2016-17 escapes folder, calling them escapes because the camera, me, and the location is an escape. And again, I will have shot millions of things over the years, as you can see. Here's a case in point. Let's have a look at the actual file. So this is a sunset over a place called Ully. Some people say it's in Rotherham, some people say Sheffield. It's near a place called Dinnington, and this is a wind farm, god awful eyesore wind farm. This is the sun going down to the west at the right, and the wind farm in the foreground. And actually, I fucking love this picture today, because it's the blot on the landscape, isn't it? Where people think that these things are brilliant and they're going to save us, and really they're just a sucker of wildlife. They're a killer of wildlife. They're just a blot on the landscape. They're noisy. They're awful. They're not clean because they have to have oil and stuff in them. They don't generate stuff if the wind's not blowing. They decimate the area. They are an absolute eyesore. You can drive down the M1 to London from Sheffield and see these, and they're just a big fucking eyesore. They're horrible. But in a creative context like this, I don't mind them. The only thing I'm looking at it now and thinking, that star in the centre, which is probably a planet actually, but that star in the centre, I wish I'd just got it directly above that windmill, because it's just a bit off and it's annoying me that. But other than that, from an exposure, me again hiding stuff in the foreground, that's a great shot. 2016, which is nearly 10 years ago. Although I don't show a lot of that stuff on my website, they have been on my website from time to time, because when I go through phases of stuff, I add them on there. It's not just about photographing people, it's photographing everybody and everything. And my favourite place in the whole world, Liverpool, you can see some of my edits from here. Liver building, the Liverpool Eye, the big wheel, Liverpool. This one here of this guy, I've always loved, was sat outside the Pump House pub, and he came outside to have his lunch, chucked his seat on the chair and just sat down and did it. And it was quite a nice summerish day, but I just underexposed him, because all I could see was those flashes of light hitting his clothes and his nose, and I just thought, that's beautiful. So I purposely way underexposed him, and I loved it then and I love it now, and I wouldn't shoot it any other way. And I was with some of my students at the time. We were doing a day out to Liverpool, and they all flocked round me and copied what I was doing. None of them shot that. Everybody else just shot a standard photograph of him sitting eating his dinner. But that was my interpretation of it, because that's how I see the world in contrast. And I loved it then, I love it now. And it's probably not on my website now, because I'm in a different phase, I think, to what I was then. But if you're working with people who are famous celebrities and you do portraits for them, some of this didn't work. Again, some of it really did, like the portraits I did for Mark out on Blackpool Seafront. Beautiful, love them. Loved it then, loved it now. The more casual stuff of him, just kicking back. Mark's an actor, he's been in lots of big UK shows. No pretense, just himself. Some new portraits. Thank you very much. I'm happy, he's happy, his agent's happy. But we did some stuff inside, which I got these big ideas for, and the light was just fucking horrible, so we never used them. We shot them, but we never used them. I hated that then and I hate it now. And it's not Mark that's wrong, it's my approach, my lighting, the way I thought about it, the way I attacked it on the day. I could not get it to work. That was a big learning curve for me. And then making sure that you don't make the same errors, isn't it? That's the trick. Just making sure that you don't make the same errors. And when I photographed Kevin Kennedy of Coronation Street and Curly Watts fame, I made sure I didn't make the same errors. They're much nicer set, but again, I love them today. Loved it then, love it today. And these were all just done in backstage at the, what's it called in Sheffield? Not the Crucible, the one next to it. Lyceum, I want to say. Nice set of pictures, which I still use to this day, because I think they're a great set of pictures. I could go on forever looking back at my old pictures, but it's a difficult thing, I think, to love your work the whole time. I mean, just when I did a show recently, who am I? Fucking Michael Barrymore. Did a podcast recently about our visit to Athens and the street photography, and even now, I have a love-hate relationship with pictures I shot. When I edited this one, particularly when I made the black and white, I loved it, I thought it was great, but I've not used it because I'm not sure about it, and I don't quite know why I'm not sure about it. But looking at it now, I'm more sure about it, and it's just that love-hate relationship that you go through with your work, because you're a human, you're creative, you have moods, you have feelings, you have desires, you have likes, you have dislikes, and depending on what day it is, will depend on how you approach and how you like and what you want to do. I mean, when I edited that, I thought, fucking hell, that looks like a terrible Martin Parr shot. But now, looking at it today, I'm thinking, Martin Parr will be happy with that. I actually wasn't going to take that shot. My wife said, take that shot. Take a shot of that. It's nasty, because me being a vegetarian, I don't eat meat. I was like, oh, actually. And it was the reflection here of it, the guy in the window that sucked me in to take that shot there, on my wife's suggestion. But I actually quite like that today. But again, I've not used them, not shown it anywhere, because I wasn't sure. And then other pictures that I took on our trip, I have used, because I liked it straight away and put it out straight away and still feel good about it now. And it is that, you've still got memories of this trip, you're still feeling like you want to be there. I wish we were still there, wish I could go back and do them streets again, all those kind of feelings. But really, it's just wanting to take photographs and make good pictures, isn't it? And when you do, and when you get them, and you do feel good and happy that you got them, it's a real difficult buzz to let go of. I'm trying to find and show you one that I absolutely really loved while I was there. This one here, no, it's not that one, sorry. It's the one where they're a bit more centred, that one. Just happened to be there and got them walking up, and I love it. Context-wise, They're at an ancient stadium, they're modern, they're walking up it. You think about what it must have been like back then to be walking up there. You wouldn't be dressed like that, you'd have probably have a toga on or whatever. They're a couple, but we did the same thing. We're a couple together, but we walked up separately because it's so bloody hard to walk up. It's like very steep and it was like roasting hot. So, you know, and they're separate, but you can see that, and just the shadows, highlights and shadows, and the contrast and the shapes, and the couple walking up with it, you know, bottle of water, trying to keep hydrated. Love that shot. Creatively, artistically, technically, loved it. Still do. It's only 5 or 6 weeks since, but I still love it. And some pictures you never go through the hate thing with. Some pictures you always love. Like I showed you some of that early stuff of mine. Loved it then, love it now. So it's not always about falling out of love or hating it. But it is about feeling. Going back to what I said at the start, don't let people's opinions put you off or deter you or make you feel bad, because opinions are like arseholes. Everybody's got one. Most people anyway. And it is just somebody else's vibe, somebody else's thought, somebody else's opinion. And don't let it grind you down. Don't let it bother you. If you're having a bad day and you're looking at your work and you go, oh, fucking hell, my whole portfolio, shit. It's not. You know it's not. I know it's not. They know not. It's not. It's just that you're having one of those days where you're not quite syncing up with what you've done. You've probably got some ideas you want to do. You're putting all that baggage on top of what you've done, and it's not unfair on yourself to do that. You know, if you've paid attention to creative detail, attention to exposure, attention to good edit processes, you know your work's good. You're allowed to go through a love-hate procedure with it. Just remember that you're probably going to look at these photographs millions of times over your life, and most other people want to look at them once or twice. If you can get anybody outside of yourself to look at your pictures 3 times, you've done well, extremely well. So just remember, you know, people are looking at things for the first time, and when you look at your own work for the first time, sometimes it takes you a bit to figure it out. Sometimes you need context, sometimes you just need the right time, place, space to be shown it in, or to see it in, to get the connection. And as I've just shown you now, just talking back through some of my work, you can see that I've gone, oh, I forgot I like that, and oh God, I can see why I didn't like that. Doesn't mean your work's shit. Doesn't mean your work's brilliant. Doesn't mean it's rubbish. It means it's personal to you. And I titled this video, what have I called it? Your work's both brilliant and rubbish at the same time. Because it is, and it never won't be. And don't beat yourself up overthinking you could do better, could do more, could do different, because we all could. But it's not really about that, is it? It's about producing work, putting work out there, getting work out, keeping moving. Shoot, edit, learn, go. Shoot, edit, learn, go. All the time. And you'll have less instances of thinking, oh my God, that work was rubbish. You'll have less instances of second guessing yourself. And hopefully you can get to a point where you don't care what the people think, because like I said in a previous podcast, unless you're making work just for you, you're wasting your time. You'll never please anybody else. If you're not making work for yourself, you're wasting your time. Just make work for yourself that you can buzz about. Maybe falling out of love with it, buzz about it again. Don't make work for anybody else other than you. So that's it for today. Thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed that. If you stuck right to the end, I must be doing something right. If you did, if you wouldn't mind hitting the old subscribe and like buttons, share with your mates, talk about the podcast, tell people, oh, this Lance kid is not so bad, he does know what he's talking about, he's got some decent work. If you didn't like it, it doesn't really matter, does it? People will like it, people will hate it. Like I've just said to you, opinions are like arseholes. Everybody's got one. Thanks for listening. See you on the flip side. Cheers.
Get you out my mind. Think about a way to get you out my mind. Think about a way to get you out my mind. Think about a way to get you out my mind. You won't believe, yeah, I can't get you out my